We're here with part 2 with Matt Johnson of the Gun Talk team, and we're talking a little bit more about gear, the stuff we like, the stuff we don't like. And you know what? Sometimes you got to make yourself fail to really grow as a hunter. All right, we're in round 2 with Matt Johnson here on Gun Talk Hunt. Welcome in. I'm your host, KJ. Thank you guys so much for joining back up with us. Matt and I had a lively discussion last week on gear, on kind of what we learned from evaluating our gear, what we liked, and what we're looking forward to. We talked a little bit about I'm looking forward to trying some sheep feet, and he's got a pack from Lone Wolf, which I'm still shocked that they create that. It makes sense though.
Yeah, I've been a fan of their stands for a long, long time. So I'm on their newsletter, and when they came out with it, I was ecstatic about it because I just watched their stuff, and I like their stands, and I know what they're building there. Yes, it's expensive, but I've learned that I'm willing to pay a little bit more if it's going to work and it's going to last. And so,
amen.
We'll find out what I think of it.
We'll find out. But as always, we want to thank our sponsors, and this Gun Talk Hunt is brought to you by Silencer Central, Silence Delivered, and ATN, the future of optics. I think there needs to be a caveat before we really get off of this gear thing. Matt and I buy our gear.
Yes.
All right, so that's an important little asterisk that we can say. There are a few items, and we disclose it, that we might get a deal on, like a firearms industry deal on, but that is few and far between because I like buying stuff and using it and then giving an honest evaluation of it. So I just need to get that out in the air. Yeah. You find the same thing?
Yeah, I do. I've got a lot of people that's like, oh man, you must get all kinds of stuff. And it's like, we can, fortunately, because of the space we're in, but for what my passion is in archery hunting, that's not where we're overly connected, but it's like, there's a lot of free stuff that can be handed out. And the same way we approach our partnerships and things in business and whatnot is you get what you pay for. If you're not paying for it, it can be. So, and frankly, I'm discerning enough now where I've been hunting for over 20 years that I know what I like and I know what I need to get. So it's like, I'm going to seek it out and do the research to find it.
Yeah. And
that's, if this match is great. If it doesn't, not a big deal.
That's what I'm kind of dealing with that right now because I need like a Cuban fiber tarp. So something really packable. I only want it to be a few ounces that I can throw in my pack, and it's a full size tarp. And I'm kind of like looking, and I know, like, I think Peaks has one. Cool, I think, does something kind of similar. But I'm preparing to go to Kodiak, and I'm going to have one. It's something that you can, take on the mountainside or the hillside and just prop up. You're going to be out of the elements. You're going to be dry. And when it comes to cameras, got to stay dry. And so I'm doing my cameraman a solid by getting that. But those Cuban fiber tarps are, you're looking in the $250 to $300 range. So they're, if you go lighter in your hunting equipment and you keep going lighter and lighter and lighter, the price goes up, 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 up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know that. I mean,
oh yeah, it's with anything. The more technology put into it and the more finite it is and the more convenient it is, the more expensive it is.
Right. It's like when they start putting Dyneema in this stuff or like, it's like fishing line. I mean, Dyneema fibers and all that stuff. Yeah, it's going to be more expensive because they don't just produce that stuff to give away. But no, it's interesting. Gear is always, I'm a gear junkie. I love gear. I love good gear. Another pack that I ran that I didn't mention last week, I'm running a Kafaru 44 mag for any backcountry hunt that I do. Or if I'm taking the kids in the field and I need a little extra space, I'll bump that bag up.
Yeah, that's the other. So we both have kids about the same age, and my daughter comes gun hunting with me, and she's wanted to get away from gun hunting and into archery hunting. But whenever we go to the stand together, that's exactly it. It's like I'll make her carry her stand in, but I know to have her carry her stand and a backpack at the same time is a bit much. So I find that too. It's like I need a little bit bigger bag because I want her to understand she's got her stuff, I've got my stuff, but these are the essentials to what go as far as, and when I say essentials, I'm talking a first aid kit, I'm
Yeah.
talking deer drag rope, safety harness, first aid kit, that kind of stuff. But then when you go, it's like, okay, now I've got 2 water bottles,
Yeah.
probably 2 sets of snacks,
Lots of
that kind of stuff
snacks.
that goes too. So yeah.
Lots of snacks. I mean, that like
Yeah.
snacks are king in my hunting camp. Not for
Yes.
me,
Oh
but
no, not for me.
not for me. Um,
Okay.
well, let's talk about. Well, I guess we can talk a little bit about early season prep for you as far as getting in shape. Because I know you were like in marathon training, like you were starting to train for a marathon. You got hurt,
Yep.
and you're about recovered. But what is a typical season going to look like for you as far as like getting into shape?
So deer can't. So I get in shape by making sure I start having about 1 to 2 donuts or cookies each morning because
Oh
that's
my
deer camp
gosh,
breakfast. So, no,
that's
a lot of people make fun of folks like Cam Haines, like, well, you don't need to do that for whitetail hunting, and it's like, I get it, but for me, I've just always been an active person, and
yeah,
it's got more to do with, for me, I'm already active. I go to the gym 4 to 5 days a week already, and then I was out training for a marathon and trying to adjust that, and that didn't all work out. But normal is for me is trying to get back down to the woods, and um, it's the climb because the climbing is different. I
oh
climb
yeah,
every stand, and it's tree sticks. It's not a ladder stand. It's all tree sticks, climbing sticks, and that sort of thing. But it's got more to do with being able to mentally prepare for it is the game where in terms of my training is I need to be able to sit and relax
yeah,
and really start to listen. Physically, I don't want to walk out to a stand and be winded by the time I get there because I'm hauling a stand and a back and that sort of thing. And I know it sounds cheesy and you don't need to work out 5 days a week to do that. But in the preseason, when you're going around, you're like when I go down on to for preseason to hang stands and cut trims, it's like you're up and down 4 or 5 trees a day to hang a stand, carrying the stand up, a pole saw above your head, trying to trim branches out. And
yep,
so that's, I guess it's nothing too, and there's nothing specific I do about it because I think my daily workouts are good enough. But I would definitely tell people that if you're going to do it, it's start walking a mile a day or
yeah.
every other day, just from that basic cardio of going in and out of the stand. And at the same time, understand that the best way to show that you're out of shape is drag a deer out of the woods.
Oh my gosh, yes. Like, that is the worst. But I mean, but honestly, for a lot of guys, that's just getting into the stands a success. And I'm not saying everybody. I think you're right. Not everybody has to be Cam Haines and
Right.
you running these ultra marathons and stuff like that. You
Right.
don't have to do that to deer hunt. You don't have to do that to turkey hunt. I know plenty of out of shape dudes who sit there and are more successful than me,
Yep.
and good
Yep.
on them. They just have what works for them down so well.
Right.
But it always makes for me, it makes the experience a little bit more enjoyable when I can like be in shape and I can like not get winded, walking, 6, 7 miles a day, just, hunting deer
I
and
will
chasing
flat out
turkeys.
say, as I'm looking forward to come down and hunting with you in Oklahoma this fall,
Uh-oh.
and um, I will say I will probably more consciously think about my conditioning prior to that because you are more spot and stock way more than I am up here.
Yeah.
I think I'll be okay, but
You'll
I'll
be
put more
fine.
into that. So
You'll be fine. It's levels of exertion, and I can make that hunt as easy as you want, and I can make it a little bit more difficult. But if you're preparing for a hunt like what I'm doing, um, what is I would suggest is, man, just walk with a pack on. What I'm doing right now is every morning I'm up at I get up at 4:40. I get up early. I
right.
go run a mile at the gym, I stretch, and then I lift, and I work out different parts of the body, each session. And then after that, I walk 2 miles, ruck with it's right now, it's roughly about probably 60 pounds. But it's just, getting that weight on my hips and
Mhm.
used to packing large, loads out.
Yeah.
And not everybody's going to do that, and that's fine.
Yeah,
But it's
but you're
just,
you're going to, I mean, but you're going up to Kodiak Island. So I mean that is a little bit different, and it's DIY, so you are going to be getting out and moving around. But I don't know, I guess I'm just always been a proponent that people should have some level of exercise going in
yeah.
because it makes it more
Well,
enjoyable.
just to get the heart rate up and get that heart conditioned to, those heavy loads and those long days or those, packs in, because I'm going to go up to Colorado, and that's going to be a high altitude hunt. And
Yep.
so there's got to be a little bit of like, uh, there's got to be a little bit of stamina in there somewhere. But
Mhm.
also, I mean, I'm in the jujitsu gym 5, 6 days a week, and
Yep.
I'm sitting there rolling hard. So it's
Yeah.
all in just, man, it's just how you prepare your body, and because you don't want failure. And
Yeah.
that's the scariest thing is you don't want that body to fail. I anticipate gear failing at some point. Um,
Yep.
but we're gonna jump in here, and we're gonna talk about failure. But I want to hear what our sponsors have to say. But we're gonna get a word from them. Thank you to Silencer Central. I don't know if you guys know it because I say it every week, but I'm going to say it again. eForms is about the easiest thing you can do. And going to Silencer Central is probably even better because they do everything for you. They work your trust. They set that up for you. They send you the fingerprint kits, tell you exactly how to do it. They even send you the little ink that goes with it, which is super cool. You can do it from the safe confines of your own home. You put it in the mail, send it back to them. A representative is going to reach out to you and verify everything, make sure everything's on the up and up, and then you're good to go. So if you want to find out more about maybe getting a Banish 46, maybe it's a Banish 30. I've got a Banish 46 coming in, and I'm super excited about it because I've got a 4570 lever action that I want to put that thing on. It'll be super awesome. And SIG Sauer. SIG Sauer has a new SIG Experience Center. It's the SEC. They're located in Epping, New Hampshire, that you can go to, and you can enjoy a state-of-the-art 40,000 square foot facility, and it features SIG Sauer's flagship retail showroom. What's cool about that is if you've never been to SHOT Show, what they have done is they've basically taken their entire SHOT Show booth and set it in that building. So they set it up in there, and it's super clean. It's immaculate, and so they've even got a 1751 club. So the club 1751, a multi-purpose meeting space, corporate office space. So if you're looking to host a corporate event or anything like that, I'm sure they could help you out. And they've got state-of-the-art, high-tech shooting ranges, which is also super freaking cool. So visit sigsauer.com/ Sig Sauer Experience to learn more. And ATN, the future of optics. They are the future of optics because they've got more bells and whistles than referees on a NFL Sunday. So definitely check ATN out. They've got the One Shot Zero. They've got a lot of different models of, you can go with your Thor 4. You got your OTS LT. One of my favorites are the monoculars, which fall in that OTS line. But if you guys are looking for a monocular, especially for scouting purposes, and I highly recommend you look at that. And they are running a sale on your Thor 4s. You get a free gift and at $198 value, which is super cool. But the Odin LT is another compact monocular. I'm kind of a fan of the Odin OTS, sorry, the ATN OTS LT. Now, that thermal monocular, what I do with it is I scan field edges, and it's at $899 right now. So if you want to get into thermal and understand what's going on, as always, check your state regulations before you take these things out in the field, because the last thing you want to do is find the super cool piece of equipment and find out that you can't use it for its intended purposes, which is scanning. I use it to scan the field before I enter, so I'm not bumping deer on the way out. Super easy to do. It's a 3 to 6x. Awesome stuff to use. Find out more at atncorp.com. That's atncorp.com. And we're back with Matt Johnson of Team Gun Talk. Okay, Matt, we're talking about failure and allowing yourself to fail. We talk about gear. Gear is going to fail. You can count on that. Mark it down. It's going to fail. But what happens when you fail?
First, well, I take a look at, did I fail or did the situation change that I wasn't prepared for? Thus, I failed. And God knows I've done plenty of both. But the first thing I do is whatever weapon I have in my hand, if it's in my hand at the time, I hang it up and I sit down and I do an instant mental check of, I do an instant mental check of what failed. Was it my equipment creaked? Because I've had tree stands creak. I've had my bag flop. I've had my quiver fall off the tree and hit the ground. I've had myself cough or sneeze. And then there's moments where it's like, nope, I just flat out got busted because the deer was smarter than me.
Yeah.
So I do an instant check of what failed, how could I have fixed it, or did I just give it up? It's like the animal won.
Yeah.
Because this is their life and I'm in their neighborhood.
And that's one of the hardest things, I think, is the self-evaluation, because we are hard-headed enough to sit there and go, it couldn't have been me. It couldn't have been me. But when you actually do a little self-evaluation like you're talking about, you find out real quick, like how many dirty tricks your mind can play on you. And especially when you fail. And I think that's the toughest thing is most of my failures come mentally. When I relax or get too relaxed, or, I think I've prepared enough and I'm not prepared enough. And that's kind of the hardest thing for me, is to get over the mental failure of a hunt.
Yes. It is. And it's for me, it's the hardest one to prepare for, because you can only think of so many situations and scenarios that, at least in my mind, that you can realistically prepare for. But fortunately, when you've hunted long enough, you can look back and there are obviously moments of failure that stick out in your head. And I look back at them and it's like, okay, there is zero way. There's a couple of them I can think in my head. There is no way I could have ever prepared for this situation to have made it count. But there is a small component of it. Like, for one example, this is probably, it's well over 10 years ago. So there's a military training base in central Minnesota called Camp Ripley. Mm-hmm. And every year they do a deer population control hunt. And so it's 2 weekends, it's lottery only. And each day you're allowed in with your portable stand. You have to come out each night. And you can't go in and scout, whatever else. And you get in line to go in, It's a whole ordeal. It used to be a lot of fun. A lot of other political things got involved, and it's not nearly as much. And the deer quality is less. Anyway, I was hunting it with my brother-in-law and a good college buddy of mine. And it's one of those where you go in and you're in for the entire day. So I went in, nothing was happening. I was like, I need to move my stand location. So I climbed down, pulled everything with me. And I had a backpack on. I had my sticks hooked to my stand, and my stand in one hand and my bow in the other hand. And I'm creeping through the woods at like 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. And I happen to look over, and this really nice mature buck is walking, angling at me. And the wind is straight at my back. And so he's angling in front of me. So I stop behind a tree. I was able to get my backpack off, my stand on the ground, leaned up against the tree, an arrow out of my quiver and knocked, and my release on, and ranged him.
Oh my gosh.
He had no clue I was there. Just for me to have him get straight square in front of me, slight angling away, for me to send the arrow over the top of his back because I misread my rangefinder. Oh. Nowhere in my mind I'm thinking, there's no way I was thinking realistically I was going to see a deer in this situation with everything and yet get everything off to be able to take the shot. So mentally, it's like my error in all of this was I didn't read I didn't range again, and I misread the distance. In open ground, I didn't judge
But
the distance correctly, and so it's
I
like, so for my takeaway in that is like that was an awesome experience. I need to get better at free eyeing distances with
yeah.
trees and markers and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's the mental aspect. I mean, and doing those double checks and making sure you're, um, I mean, making sure you've double checked yourself because that happens. That happened to me. I've blown shots because of ranges and
Yep.
not reading them twice or not getting an accurate reading. Um,
Yep.
we
And
had
that's what it comes down to is inaccurate reading. And I was so just trying to hurry, but be slow to not make big movements. That it's like I just trusted it from the very beginning, not thinking that I might have ranged the wrong
yeah,
tree or hit a
yeah.
branch or whatever.
Well,
And
it sounds like you and I have a mental the same kind of thing happening within our thought process on these controlled hunts. So I drew out on um, a great tag on an Army ammunition plant, and it's traditional archery only. Now you can't hunt with your compounds or anything like that. And it's the same thing. You can go in, you can hang your stand. You get 1 day to scout. So you can scout on Friday, you get to hunt Saturday, Sunday, you're out. Um, and I found a great little bottom, great little creek running through a dry creek bed, and I had two trees, and they were 70 yards apart. And I looked through this tree, looked at my phone, and I said, okay, if the wind's blowing, X tomorrow, like I'll sit in this tree. If it's blowing this
yeah,
tomorrow, and so I went ahead and made the call that okay, that's what the wind's gonna do, and I was right, but I could see that tree. And I will tell you right now that 170-inch deer walked right under that tree.
of course it did.
And I had to sit there and I had to sit there and watch as like I couldn't believe that
Yep.
I had made that decision. And he came and he did exactly what he should have done. He was walking downwind of that creek bed,
Yep.
but he just entered just beyond my range. And
Right.
mentally, I think I made the right choice. But I really think that if I would have thought about, like, I didn't think about him entering at that point, which
Yeah.
he might have busted me before that, but I might have got a shot before that.
Right.
And so mentally, that shut me down for the rest of that hunt. And then
Yeah.
you only get one crack at it, so I can't go back in there and try to hunt
Yep.
that deer. I've got 2 days to kill him.
Yep.
Couldn't do it.
Yeah. It's tough because you knew you succeeded in that you were like it's one of these two trees.
Yeah.
You failed in that you picked the wrong tree, which you're fighting against a wild animal whose job is solely to survive.
To stay alive.
But right. So it's like there's a little victory there, but yeah, at the same time, we're like, okay, so another check. It's like, should I have, should I not have? But even
So
if you'd have gotten there and maybe he busted you before, but at least you
he,
would have been in,
I
you
would have been in
know,
the game.
right. Because it's
Hey,
like, okay, he's coming this way.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's oh my gosh. So I've got Matt, I got a story for you. And I've told you this story, and I'm sure I have. And I've told this story um yeah, I've told this story before, and maybe someone's on here listening, but it's the worst hunt of my life. I mean, it it is the I was the epitome of a on the brink of a mental breakdown
Oh,
because of my shooting. And it wasn't because of the guns. I talked myself into, I brought two guns on my first antelope hunt, first do it yourself where we hunted. Um, and so opening morning, perfect. I'm on this hillside. I've got a deer or an antelope. I said deer, um, within 100 yards. And I mean, I'm looking directly down on him. It's a pretty steep slope. So I'm like, well, I'll aim, just a touch high. I sent it over his back at 100 yards, missed the shot, blew the shot. Giant. It was a giant, great public land. It would have been by far my biggest antelope. It was the first one I saw. And I was so frustrated because I had another shot at him a few days ago, but it was from, 300 yards. I missed that shot.
Sure.
I got out of the area. Well, a couple goats later, I'm still missing antelope. I'm flat out missing them. Flat
Ugh.
out missing them. And I'm putting great stocks. Like mentally, I was keyed, dialed in on my stalking. Like the wind was right, the shadows were right off of the,
Yeah.
eh, off the hillside, and I was making all the right decisions on that
Yep.
end, but I couldn't execute a shot. I mean, Matt, I'm talking about I missed like 6 goats in a row. And
KJ, you watched me miss that goat last fall from 100 yards over the water hole. I was
that
going through. I was headed down your path, man.
I
I was.
and I
Oh,
think I shared this. I think that's when I actually told you this story. But
oh,
I was mentally
yeah.
deprived at the end of that hunt. And man, if you don't have a positive attitude, your hunt is going to fail.
Yes.
Um, and I I broke a pair of Bushnell binoculars. No, yeah, it was Bushnell because they fixed them for me, and I thought they shouldn't have fixed them, but they were very very gracious in fixing them. I threw them, I think 70 yards. I think it was 70 yards after my final miss. I couldn't handle it anymore. I lost it. And my buddy was there. Like I had 2 guys that were really good. I've had Jeff on the show. I need to get Mike on the show. But Jeff was with me and he was like my cheerleader. He was like, "Man, you just got to stay with it. You got to stay with it." And I finally ended up closing the deal on a buck. But that
Yeah.
was the last stop. I was going home blanked.
Yeah.
I was going home blanked and I had just caught a sight of a buck, in a field, and I was like, "What the heck? He's on public ground. Let's try to make it happen." Sure enough, I mean it happened. It worked. It was awesome. But mentally, I was done. I was checked out.
Yeah. No, so you touched on a good point there is we were talking about conditioning and whatnot before, and it's like it's more of a mental game. It's like there's way more, I put way more stock into my mindset and the mental game of hunting now than I ever have before. I've
Yep.
always, as a young guy, I took for granted. It's like, well, I need to be in the right spot at the right time. I need to find that perfect spot. And it's like, I do, but at the same time, I need to be in the right mindset when I'm going out there. And so there have literally been times I've gone out to a stand where it's like I hang up my bow or hang up my gun. I'm like, I don't give a rip if I see anything this morning.
Yeah.
I just need to be here.
Yeah.
And then after about the first hour, it's like, okay, now I'm ready for something to walk by and ready for something else because like I needed to be in the outdoors.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've had those too where you made a comment or we've talked before and I've gotten too relaxed. I missed one, was it last year or 2 years ago? Because I just got too comfortable in the stand and I gave up on a spot in of a certain area around the stand. And I was like, yeah, and got comfortable. And sure enough, a real nice mature whitetail showed up in that spot and took it for granted. And it's like, okay, I need to be mentally checked. And there's been other times
Yeah.
when, yeah, you get lax and all of a sudden you just kind of look over and it's like, you just half nonchalant look over and it's like, oh my God, there is something. And as soon as you see it, they see you and it's over.
It's a giant.
Yep. So
Yeah, it's just you got to allow yourself to fail, I think, because I think that's the only way you learn on, especially how to become mentally stronger during the hunt. For me, it's that way. Like if I don't allow myself and put myself in uncomfortable mental situations, as far as like us hunting and really stretching my boundaries, I can't grow as a hunter. I'm not going to grow mentally stronger. Um, it's just not going to happen,
and
because
I'll counter that even with when you succeed, you need to do just as much of a mental check of what went right.
yeah.
Was it pure luck? Because just as I say in sports, you can't be successful without a little bit of luck, right?
Oh yeah.
But you can definitely answer the door when opportunity knocks. So if I can get any more cliches in here, I'll try.
I, I
But
I don't think you can, and I think that's a good spot to end it. Just Man, gun talk hunters, if you're out there, allow yourself to fail. Allow
Yes.
yourself to fail just a little bit, and you
Yep.
will grow as a hunter, I promise.
Yep. Agreed.
All right. Well, gun talk hunters, you know the drill. You know the drill. You know the drill. Keep those muzzles pointed in a safe direction and always be on the hunt.